Hello and welcome to this Prepare for IELTS video lesson. In this lesson I'm going to focus mainly on part 3, but you may be able to use the words and phrases that I teach in part 1 as well. Now in part 3 you often get asked some very tricky questions, and sometimes you just don't know what to say, and you might have trouble saying things in your own language as well in answer to these questions because they are things that you've never thought about before. So what do you do when you want to say I don't know? Well, you need to say it in a more complex way. Remember, IELTS is not a test of your knowledge. It's not about the content particularly in your answers. It's a test of your language. So if you don't know what to say, then say it, but say it in a more complex way than I don't know. So let's take a look at some examples of some real part 3 questions and how you can answer them basically by not answering them and just saying I don't know. Which problems nowadays are solved by international organisations? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. It's not something I've ever thought about before. I suppose they might be dealing with problems connected with internet security. Other than that, I haven't got a clue. Now this is a very tricky question. It's after the part 2 topic, describe a time that you helped someone. So it's about helping, and then it goes on to the international organisations, helping people. And personally, I find it a very tricky question to answer. I would struggle to answer this in English. So by saying you're not entirely sure, it's not something you ever thought about before, I do go on to give a suggestion, but other than that, I haven't got a clue, and this means I really don't know. So let's take a look at another one, and this follows on from the part 2, describe a time that you lost something. If someone is too organised, do you think they would find it difficult to be creative? I'm not entirely sure how to answer that. I guess they may find it a struggle. As I'm not a particularly organised person myself, it's hard to say. However, I'm not creative either, so I don't think there is a correlation between the two things. So you can see I'm not really answering the question because I'm saying I'm not entirely sure how to answer that. Now I do go on to give some examples, so I guess they may find it a struggle. This is a very useful word, can be used in IELTS writing as well. The verb to struggle means to find something difficult. A struggle is a thing that is difficult. And then I'm saying because I'm not organised and I'm not creative, so I don't think there is a correlation. Again, another great word for IELTS writing. A correlation is a connection or a link between two things. So I am giving a bit more of an answer here. I'm not just saying I don't know and then moving on to the next question, but these are useful openers and things to put throughout your answer. I'm not entirely sure how to answer that. It's hard to say. So you're kind of saying, I really haven't got any good ideas about this topic. And the final one we're going to look at comes after the topic, describe a building that you like. And the question is, what aspect of culture do old buildings reflect? It's hard to say because I'm not particularly interested in old buildings, so it's not something I've ever considered. I imagine they reflect our history, but I can't really give you any good examples of how. So I've said they reflect our history, but rather than just saying older buildings reflect our history, I've said more by saying it's hard to say, I'm not particularly interested in, it's not something I've ever considered, I imagine they reflect our history, but I can't give you any good examples of how. So I am giving a quite detailed answer, but I'm not saying very much, and this is much better than just going, I don't know, I suppose they reflect our history. So let's take a look at some individual phrases that you can learn and hopefully use in your IELTS speaking test. Now, I don't want you to use these for every answer, but if you use them once, it's good because these are some very good words and phrases to use, and they're quite complex ways of not only just saying I don't know, but impressing the IELTS examiner with your use of language. So the first one we've seen before, I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I guess. So you're always going to follow this up with something else. Don't just say, I'm not entirely sure, to be honest, and then stop speaking. Try and follow it with something. I love I'm not entirely sure. You can use it in lots of occasions when you're talking about a time you visited a place. I'm not entirely sure when it was, to be honest. Much better than saying I don't know. This one is a great one, very, very complex, very idiomatic. Don't use it in IELTS writing, but fantastic for IELTS speaking. I'm really sorry, but I haven't got the faintest idea. Now, what this means, the faintest idea, it's used for emphasising that you do not know or understand something. So if they ask you a question and you really don't understand it, you could say, I haven't the faintest idea what you mean. Could you explain? It's very idiomatic, it's very informal, fantastic to impress the IELTS examiner, but like I said, not for use in IELTS writing. I haven't really got a clue what to say, but here goes. So a great little opening sentence, and even if you do know what you're going to say, just use it because it's great to impress the IELTS examiner. I haven't really got a clue. A clue is like saying, I haven't really got an idea. I don't know what to say. I haven't really got a clue what to say, but here goes. So it's like I'm going to try. If they ask you a question on a topic that just is not a topic that you know very much about, I'm not the best person to answer that because I'm just not interested in. So if it's about architecture and you're not interested in it, I'm not the best person to answer that because I'm just not interested in architecture. But do try and develop it a little bit further and say a little bit more. And the final one, I wish I had an intelligent answer to this question, but the honest answer is I have no idea. So they ask you something and you think, oh, I really should say something intelligent, but I don't know what to say. Oh, I wish I had an intelligent answer to this question. But the honest answer is I have no idea. And you have some fantastic grammar there with I wish I had and I have no idea, meaning I don't know. So try and practice using one or two of these. Don't try and get them all in the IELTS exam because it will sound like you've just learnt them and trying to get them into the exam. And if you answer every part 3 question with one of these phrases, they will think you have memorised them and you are just using it for that reason, and they don't like that and they will give you a lower grade. But choose one of them or 2 of them that you think would be very good and you can try to include it in your IELTS speaking. And there will be times, particularly in part 3, when you think, I really don't know what to say. In that case, use one of these and impress them when you don't know what to say. Hope you found that useful. Thanks for watching.